Welcome everyone to Authentic as Fuck. My name is Sun, and in this podcast, my lovely co-host and I will always talk about an idea and try to go from basically a blank concept to a piece of content like a carousel. And we try to do that through using myth truth sandwich. So today, Jelena has a bunch of ideas that she's going to share with me. Then we're going to go from there.
So I wanted to use one meat short sandwich that I created, so to see if there is something that we can use, or to see how we can, I don't know, make carousels or do something specific with it. So the myth is most people think it's okay to have feelings. But imagine most people's reaction if they see a man pouring tears on romantic movies, commercials with kids, reels with saving animals. Most people would silently put them a label of beta male, sensitive, or too emotional. The truth is, we say it is okay to have feelings, but emotions are okay as long as we can bottle them up and act normal.
And you said that before we started recording. You said there's something about that you don't know if it works or not. So you wanted to use a different one.
I was thinking, because you said that we should believe in this myth at some point, so that this was our reality. But my starting point was a different emotion, because I sense that with other emotion, in my case, it was with sadness. People say that, yeah, you should feel every emotion, but I remember a few situations where I felt sad, and people around me wanted to help me to do something about it, to try to make me stop feeling sad. But this wasn't, so I wasn't actually allowed to feel. I was a burden with this feeling. So this was my starting point, to kind of see, okay, so for what emotion it's, or from what situation it's obvious that people would kind of relate. And that's when this example about
And you don't want them to? You don't want them to try to make you feel better?
I don't want.
When you're feeling sad and you're displaying your sad emotion, do you not want people to make you feel better? Try to make you feel better?
Well, in some situations, this only makes things worse, because you cannot stop feeling sad, but you see people
Okay.
trying, so you kind of want to feel better, but it's not a moment, so it feels forced. So it's, I don't know, some situation where
You feel like they're not really helping you, trying to feel better.
well,
They're pitying you or something.
it can be as well. It can be also uh, that part, but I was thinking this time more about those people that want to do something, want to help you, but they're helping you by fixing something. Okay, yeah, don't feel sad. Let's do it. I can do that, blah 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 blah. But you cannot fix some. Uh, you cannot just fix sadness. So
So I think those are two separate lessons. Because one is, okay, from what I hear, if I were to, both of those messages resonate with me. But to me, those are two different lessons. Like, one is kind of like when you're emotional, how other people will judge you and how it will affect you. Because people, it's kind of like they say, don't judge a book by its cover, but people are going to judge a book by its cover. So it's or people say, it's what's inside that counts. But the thing is, everybody's going to take one look at you and judge you, right? Not judge you by what's inside, but by outside, right? So that's that's kind of like related to me. That's like the first lesson, is that when you are being emotional, they say, people, and I guess like it's the thing is that's primarily more about males than females, right? Because a lot of times when people say that, they're saying that to a guy, but like it's okay to let your emotion out, right? When they're saying that to a girl, it's not necessarily. Mm, I guess no, it makes it works for girls too. It's okay. It's okay to be angry, like it's okay to be blah blah
Mm-hmm.
blah. But
But if she's angry, then she's hysterical.
yeah, or something like that, or she's bossy, or I don't
Or
know.
she's in PMS.
On the second one is a little bit different. The second one, the lesson is more like, hmm, it's not that you don't want to show your emotion, right? It's because it's not just because. So, are you like hiding your emotions because you don't want to burden that
Yeah.
person or something like that?
And it's if a friend is handling that burden well, then you don't want to burden them too much because they're too valuable to burden them all the time. But if they don't
But
handle
if
well, then you don't want to burden them because then you need to deal with everything else that is happening. If your friend is trying to fix those problems and they cannot, it's not what you need. Or if they now worry or make a dramatic atmosphere because of that, then you have another thing to deal with. So it's different kind of burdens.
But is it really not showing emotions, or is it just hiding information? Because when I'm in those kind of cases, right? Like let's say I'm worried about my job or something like that, and somebody goes like, "Oh, what's wrong, son?" And then it's like, "Oh, nothing. It's nothing," or "I'm okay. I'm fine," or something like that, right? It's not that I'm really hiding emotions. It's just that I'm not disclosing that I'm not disclosing the information I have about my job with that person, right? So that's different than me hiding my emotion of like if I'm sad, like hiding my sadness. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like they can still see that something's
Mm-hmm.
bothering you,
Yeah.
but you're just not telling them what's bothering you,
Okay.
right? Kind of like when I was asking, "Are you okay?" and you're like, "I'm fine." Like, are you really?
Okay. Yeah, so it's obvious there is something is
That's
there.
it's kind of annoying too. Just so you know, to the other person, right? Like sometimes, like I can see that something is bothering Gigi, and I'm like, "Is everything okay?" And then she's like, "Yeah." Like she won't like she won't tell me, and I can tell she's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." But I can also tell that she's trying to do basically what you're saying, like trying to not disclose the information because maybe she doesn't want me to worry or something like that. But I'm just telling you that even in those cases, people can still sense it,
Yeah. Okay.
which is a whole other topic. So, do you understand what I mean? It's like two different things, in my opinion. Two different lessons. One is people say don't, people say, it's okay to let your emotion out, all of that. but the reality is people are going to judge you by your emotions. Kind of like, oh, don't judge a book by its cover, or just be yourself or whatever. But then when you're just being yourself, and like when you're if you people are going to judge you by it. So that's where that conventional advice doesn't necessarily match up with the reality. So I think that's like a perfect myth truth sandwich there. The second one is, um, okay, people say it's okay to show your emotions. Okay, it's okay. Maybe the second one is more like it's okay to ask for help or something like that. But when you do ask for help, what ends up happening is people sometimes people don't know how to help you, and you're just burdening them and it's making them feel worse because now they see that they can't help you. I don't know. What would you say that is? First of all, would you say that's the myth on the second one?
I think it is. It's a myth.
Because it's
It's
definitely
okay.
not.
Yeah, it's now in I don't know, popular it's now popular to say, to give those permissions. Yeah, it's fine to not to do everything alone. So you don't need to be like independent.
It's okay
It's
to ask
okay
for
to ask
help.
for help. So
Yeah.
I guess this is a myth. Um,
And not, it's okay to show your emotions. Do you understand what I mean? Which one do you think is the right myth
I think
for that?
it's two myths. So the other one, it's okay to ask for help. Um, or to ask for support or help or support. But maybe the help is,
But that's different than it's okay to show your
yeah, yeah,
emotions.
yeah. I think it's okay to show your emotions is more connected to the judging part, because if you do it, you're
Yeah,
going to be judged.
yeah, I agree. Yeah,
But if you say the other thing, it's okay to ask for help, it's more connected to. But if you ask for help, then people don't know what to do, and so now
yeah,
you're stuck with a
yeah.
person that is dramatizing
Okay,
or worried.
so I just wanted to make sure that people understand the distinction between
Yeah.
the first one and the second one, like being emotional because you don't want to be judged versus being emotional, not being emotional because you don't want to burden someone, or you don't want them to give you the wrong advice or some whatever, right? So those are two different case scenarios is what I'm trying to say. They're not necessarily the same. Let me ask you something. Have you been in a situation, the first situation, where you did show emotions and it backfired on you and people judge you? Or
Definitely I was. I just needed to think a little bit.
I mean, it's okay if you don't know exactly, but the reason why I bring it up is because I think it's important for us to have that emotion before. Do you know what I mean? Because that is the only way you can know. I mean, you clearly did,
Yeah.
right? Because like even I
Mm.
said, we would jump on these calls and you would tell me a story, and you're like the most amazing storyteller. And then I ask you to tell the same story on Sunday service, and you kind of tone yourself down, right? Like less, it's definitely clearly less emotion there, and that's because somewhere along the line where you've probably been burned by being too emotional. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or did you?
this is definitely story of my life. So yeah, more emotional when there is less, statistically less, uh, I don't know, chance to be judged. So I am, I don't know, kind of observant about that. So yes, but if you want,
Like, was there a situation where you,
yeah, I'm searching for. I know what you want to ask me. When I was emotional and when I was judged.
yeah, but not necessarily judged, but maybe it's like you felt silly. Do you understand what I mean? Because there are sometimes for me, people didn't outright judge me, or they didn't actually say anything to me. But then I would look back in the situation and be like, "Oh my gosh, I was, I was being so stupid last night." Or, you know what I mean? I wonder if sometimes it's because you know how people say, we're afraid of judgment because we judge other people for that the same thing. And I mean, this is going off topic, but I have to get it off my chest. I feel like sometimes I do that to myself. So maybe nobody's judging me for being um, too emotional or something like that. But then sometimes, like, for example, in New York City, I'll see kids who are being overly obnoxious and loud and stuff like that. Like attention seeking behavior, right? They're like in public place and they're like 18-year-old kids who are doing very obnoxious things and just, attention seeking behavior. And I used to do that when I was young. Like I was like, everybody look at me, look at us, right? And then I'm like, oh my gosh, how immature that, like I used to be like that kind of thing.
Um, I cannot connect to exact emotion, but one story that I remember, and there are a few things that I could. I was at my first karate class, so I was maybe 11 years old, and my parents went there with me to see how I will adapt and so on. So you had everybody in like white suits, like those white clothes, and I was in my trainers, so trying to do something, and I was really trying hard to kind of do what my trainer was telling me, and my parents said, yeah, you were so good, you really put a lot of effort, we could see that. But then when they come another time, maybe 2 months after that, when I was really good in my kimono and I was much more like strong, my dad told me, "You were really good today." When I think about how were you when you started, oh my God. And I remember that sentence like, oof, this hurts me because it looked like he thought that the first time, but he said that I was good. He didn't want to, I don't know, to kind of, he didn't want to share his honest opinion because I was in the beginning and I was trying to do it, and he wanted to support
Mm,
me to grow.
yeah.
But retroactively, when he actually said that this was like a judgment part, that actually kind of, okay, so my like natural behavior to try things out, to see if I can do something, to test things, I was judged, so I need to be more observant. So this is not emotion, but actually that expression, you know.
Yeah. That's a what you just said there is actually a myth true sandwich. Because like let's see, this is live happening right now where I'm getting I'm having a I never thought of it that way moment. Okay. And this is something that's going to go in my little book. And then 6 months later, you're going to see it in the carousel when the idea is more fleshed out. So I tell people that all the time. Oh, wow, you improved so much. Or like, compared to how you used to, like, I would tell people that all the time. Oh my gosh, compared to how you were when you first started at Night Owl, like, you're so much better, or, compared to the first week you were here. Uh, eh, but like you said, like to that person that might be hearing that, might be going like, oh, was I that bad? How come you didn't say anything back then?
Exactly.
and I might be showing that person that I was judging you before without without really saying it, right? Uh, uh, that kind of makes sense. Yeah. So that's what I mean.
Okay. So now that you hear that, maybe so when you said this is a mixture.
It's because you. It's because you help me see things from another perspective.
Okay. So now, uh, what is there a myth should sandwich? What's a possible myth? You think
The possible myth is something like, yeah, that when you compliment something on their progress or something like that is a good thing. So that's the part that I need to see right now. Like what happened was a seed of an idea has been implanted in my head.
okay. Yeah,
So
yeah,
when I say plant a seed,
yeah. I
you just planted an idea in my head right now that I needs to
okay.
grow. So every time I see this similar situations or something like that, I'm gonna notice it, and probably I'm gonna go
Okay,
down this rabbit hole
so
of like,
now what happened? You heard this, you had one perspective in your mind, you hear this story, so now you have two perspectives. And after that, you said, this is a possible meat short sandwich. So I see both perspectives, but I don't see the meat short sandwich. Is that like the myth maybe when you compliment someone's progress, you have the best intention, but actually you can demeanor somebody.
yeah, I don't know what the myth is yet either,
Okay.
but I know it's a myth through sandwich because I can feel it. Because I know it's a myth through sandwich because it made me go, oh, I never thought of it that way. Do you understand what I mean?
Okay.
If I felt that, that means with enough research and with enough thinking about this topic, and I'm gonna get curious about it. I'm probably gonna like, first of all, next time I see somebody, I probably won't make that compliment again. I'll probably like, oh yeah, that was great. And then like I might even ask them like, hey, like when I asked you that, did you feel this way? Or I might even ask people this direct question. It's like when somebody said, have you ever been in a situation where somebody said to you, oh, you're so much better now, and then like you actually feel like you were being judged before or something like that. And so I'm going to have a lot of discussion and research. I'm going to go on YouTube. I'm going to search like, all of those things, right? And I'm going to keep learning. And at some point, this idea is going to be solid. Then I'm going to realize what the myth and the truth was. But the fact alone that this made me think, go, I never thought of it that way, is a good sign that I can probably take this and make somebody else say, I never thought of it that way. But the important thing is that what you see here and what everyone sees is that we just had a I never thought of it that way moment. But you see how you didn't even know that was an I never thought of it that way moment.
I mean, yeah,
Get
but
it?
it was for you.
Yeah, and it could have been for you too.
I mean, for me is when you explain me that actually you needed, I never thought of it that way to understand that there is a myth truth sandwich. So that was I never thought of it that way.
Well, when you said when your dad said that to you, gave you that compliment, instead of feeling happy and all of that, you actually felt a little bit
Judged, discouraged,
judged.
discouraged.
Yeah. Do you think that's weird? Do you think it's weird that your dad is complimenting you and then you feel a little judged?
Yeah,
Did you realize that that was weird?
no. To be honest,
But if somebody else were to tell you that same story about themselves, do you think that you would find that a little weird?
no.
So if somebody says, "Oh, like somebody complimented me, but then I felt judged," you wouldn't feel.
Well, if they say just like that without the context, I mean,
No, no, no. Like exactly the way you said it.
I wouldn't feel weird.
That they tell you the
You know
story.
when people compliment, when you see a girl with full makeup and she gets a compliment, oh, you're so beautiful. This is a little bit kind of a, okay, I have full makeup and now you're complimenting. I don't usually wear makeup, so am I? How do I look without makeup? So, but
So
if they
when you
say your makeup is
is that because
nice, then it's about makeup. It's kind of not so much about how you look without it. If you say you're so pretty now, am I pretty before?
but that's because you already knew that you've already thought about that probably, or even this compliment where oh you so much better now today than you were before. Is it because you've already thought about that? That's why you're not surprised.
I don't know. I think it's that emphasis on how bad I was before comparing to how good I was.
I know, but when somebody you would usually compliment you and the person that's getting complimented feels judged rather than flattered,
Hmm.
isn't that a little weird? Is Do
Yeah,
you know
to
what I
be
mean?
honest, no.
Isn't
I
that
thought of it before because there are so many examples that I have in my life, or when I talk to my friends or clients that have similar situations. Imagine a person lose 10 pounds and they see their family members, they, oh, now you look so good. And they never say that, usually. So you're kind of, okay, so was I feeling, did I look bad before? Kind of that, those eyes that are there, so present, so focused on one specific thing.
so? You think most people, if I said, "Oh my god, you look so much better now," after they lost weight, do you think most people will get offended, like feel judged by that, or do you think most people will feel happy by that?
I don't know. I think half. I don't know.
What I'm also starting to realize, like now we're going way off topic, but what I'm also starting to realize is that maybe it's not such a oh I never thought of it that way for you because you've thought about it
Yeah.
and you've already processed it before. So that's why maybe you're going like. But then, would there have been a moment in your life in the past when if you hear this, you'll be like, oh, I never thought of it that way. Like for example, about the makeup thing or the weight thing.
Uh, yeah, I guess I heard that from other people.
And then at that moment when you first heard about it or when you first realized it, where you're like, oh, I never thought of it that way.
Uh, I don't remember, because I think I if I thought about that when I was 11 years old, probably I've thought about it much more times. You know,
Oh, so you even thought?
because I thought about that at that moment when he told me
Uh-huh.
that. I thought about it.
And you at that moment you didn't think that was weird. That it was like, oh, he just complimented me, but I feel shitty.
I think I didn't
You don't
process.
think
I
that
think
was
I
weird?
didn't process it, but I sensed. I just stayed
Hmm.
a little bit. How
Hmm.
was I then? Is this some kind of
Hmm.
um, a little bit
Hmm.
uncomfortable feelings?
You see, the thing is, I think there is something to. There's also something about like the context and like the context of like you being a woman and me being a man. There's something about that too, because, for example, maybe a lot of women already feel that way, where oh, you look so great now, or oh, you look so pretty, or something like that. Maybe they do have that feeling of like being judged, or like what I wasn't pretty before, or like what, you know what I mean? But then I feel like, for me, people have complimented me when I lost weight, but it didn't offend me at all. I'm like, oh, thanks. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I'm just because I, for whatever reason, I don't know why, right? So, but then I actually, like when I was younger, somebody actually had told me this. Somebody said to me, like, don't ever compliment a woman on their looks. Compliment them on their dress, or don't ever compliment on things that they can't, um, they have no control over. Meaning like their face or their, you know what I mean? Like, or something like that. You can compliment them on like their dress or something
Yeah.
like that. And it was for this reason, right? Or or maybe that person did say weight or like the makeup, like the thing. I forgot exactly what he said. But then when I first heard that, I was like, huh, yeah, that's true. I never thought of it that way. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that could be a myth true sandwich. Like, for example, people always say give compliments, right? If you give compliments, it'll make the person feel better. But imagine you, you put on a wake up, and then people came up to you and be like, "Oh, you look so pretty now." Would that make you feel better?
I want to make this a carousel.
But you can see how that can turn into a mistress
Yeah. Now I
carousel,
do.
and then the truth can be like, yeah, not all compliments will make people feel better. So choose your compliments wisely, or something like that.
I like that. I mean, I
Hmm?
like that one. It's quite simple. I don't know how we come here, but this is good. This is,
But that's how I come. That This is how most of my miniature sandwich ideas come. It doesn't come. You can't.
force it.
You can't
Yeah.
sit and force an idea out of you. And it's also the reason why conversations are. You know how I always say small groups. You need to go there and just talk. Just have meaningful conversation, not like conversation about Kim Kardashian's dress, but actual have meaningful life conversation is important. It's because through those conversations you get these ideas. Just like, and this is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, in this spontaneous conversation.
So
I also have in my group one lady had a mutual sandwich about KFC guy. You know, the
Colonel
yeah,
Sanders,
the
yeah.
myth is who come early bird it's worm. Yes,
That's
the
the
worm.
worm.
Yeah. And then the example is this guy. He was 60 something when he opened KFC. So the truth is
The myth. I think the myth was. I read that one. I think the myth was not early bird gets the worm, but
there were two.
it's too late
Two
for me.
people used the same. Yeah,
Example.
yeah, but they didn't connect to each other. So I just read.
Okay,
I know that.
because that one is more like it's too late. It's too late for me now, or something like that.
Yeah, the point that I wanted to say that in our group when we try to debunk that myth, we come the to an example. Okay, so Mozart, he lived 35 years. If he was waiting to for the perfect time, he would be dead.
That's good. That's
So
good
it
one.
was so spontaneously uh, in the
Mm.
conversation. So, yeah.
Not everybody's gonna live long enough to enjoy that. But that's actually I can debunk that myth because I don't know if I said this or not, but yeah, I said it in the IG live. So most people think that Mozart is a genius, that he's naturally talented. Most people think that Tiger Woods is naturally talented. That there are some people that are just born with it, born with natural talent, and that's why they're such a genius. Well, I haven't really thought this through yet because I've never thought about this, but it's related to a couple of different concepts. So, natural geniuses never succeed. It's kind of like the story of tortoise and the hare. Like, the tortoise is slow and the hare is fast, right? But then the tortoise ends up winning the race. Do you know which story I'm talking about? The tortoise, yeah. And that's because usually the fast one, the naturally talented one, like the hare, they're lazy because they're so confident in their skills that they don't put in the work. Like one of the worst things that my dad could have told me when I was young is like, son, you're so smart that if you just work a little bit hard, you'll catch over everything. Like he should have never told me that because that made me so lazy. Right? So something like that. And it's like I'm actually like I'm guilty of that. Like I always say, the reason why I procrastinate is because it works. I I can wait till last minute, and in 1 hour I can just finish the work and and get an A. And because of that, that taught me to be lazy and wait till last minute and not put in the
Yeah.
work. Do you
Yeah.
understand what I mean? So, and that's how most people are. Most naturally talented people are like that, and that's why they don't actually succeed. Mozart and Tiger Woods were not naturally talented. It's not that they were born with the gift. The only reason why they're so successful at such a young age is because Mozart started playing music when he was 3. He composed his first concerto when he was 6, and he like composed his first symphony when he was like 12. So by the time he was in 12, he was already 10 years, like 9 years in. Do you understand what I mean? He's already got his 10,000 hours by the time he was like 12 years old. And that's the reason why he's so good, and it's not because
So
he's a
it's because
genius.
of his
Do you know what I mean?
work ethics, or how do you say it, conscientiousness, or somebody pushed him
Yeah,
to practice.
his dad. He- but it's similar, right? Tiger Woods' dad really pushed him. So some people said like Tiger dad was too like like a tiger mom, a tiger dad, right? But it was the same thing with Mozart. Mozart's dad like really pushed him because Mozart's dad was also a musician, and if you look at a lot of these young geniuses, a lot of times their dad is the one who pushed them too. But I don't know. This is just like a high level concept right now. So, which one do you want to go with?
I think it's this one is really came here spontaneous, so I would choose this one. People say give
Which,
compliments.
oh, really?
Yeah.
You want to do that one? Okay.
But imagine you
Okay.
put on your makeup on and you get the compliment that you are pretty, but you never get the compliment
Okay.
usually.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do that one.
Is it like a too is
Before
it
we
like a
actually
too superficial? That's too
too
simple.
simple.
Yeah, because
Yeah, but you want it to be
the
simple.
lesson is like choose your compliments. So okay.
Yeah, I guess what is the real lesson? You know, the thing about this is remember when I came up with it and I told you about it. I was kind of like, it's not ready yet. I still have to think about it and I still have to do my research and all of that. I think the reason why I said that is because I don't know if I learned the lesson yet. Yes, I had I never thought of it that way moment. But once it's kind of like this, right? When I say we're on this repeat loop over making the same mistake over and over and over and over again. Like, imagine me going to compliment people on like, "Oh, you look so much better now that you lost the weight." Imagine I'm making that mistake without knowing what mistake I'm making over and over, thinking like, "Oh, I just complimented her. She must be really happy." And then I keep making mistake. And then now that you said that, I'll probably watch myself now. Before I compliment, I might think twice before I do that, right? And then throughout throughout the next few months or something like that, I might actually learn the lesson. And I might actually be like, you know what the best way to compliment people is? It's like this. Or I might do some research on it or something like that. And I might actually learn something. I actually need to learn the lesson. And I actually need to try something new. And then realize, oh, the best way to do it is like this. It's kind of like just because I realized that, oh, giving clients too many designs is actually hurtful, that doesn't mean I've already learned it. Now I actually need to try giving them less designs. Or so almost every realization that I've ever had, I actually had to apply it in real life to see if it works or not. Test it
Yeah.
out,
Yeah, I
right?
see.
And then that's how you really learn. That's what I meant by if you haven't really learned the lesson yourself, like then you shouldn't be teaching it because I might have a realization or I might hear something, but like, oh, that's cool. But then if you teach it yourself, then you learn all the nuances. And once you know the nuances, then you know what the real lesson is. Like, for example, I can say, you know, do what you love is a myth, right? And then I give an example of how, like, when I started a design business, I'm not actually doing what I love because I have to do all this other stuff or something like that. And then, but that's the truth. I got the myth and the conventional truth and the universal truth. Yes, right. But what's the lesson? Like, do what you don't love. That's not the lesson. Or you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Or just don't expect to find love in what you do. Like that's not the lesson either. The lesson is you can't always do what you love, but you can choose to love everything you do.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean?
Okay.
And that's actually once I say that, that's more powerful. It makes this carousel so much more powerful. And the reason why is because that's how I fixed it. That's how I solved the problem.
Yeah, I think that in terms of those areas where we are not comfortable, so it's those areas that we were watched a lot. So if somebody has problem with weight, we were watched about our weight. People were in our environment commenting on what we eat, how we eat, or how we look, or if it's our face, if we have acne or not. If so, kind of that attention is sign of judgment. It's bringing the signs of judgment. So it's not only to choosing, yeah, it is to choose your compliments, but also too much attention on something also brings those judgy feelings in somebody that is sensitive or something. So sometimes you should choose not to compliment, not to put any focus on that. um,
Yeah, I guess you can use that, right? You can say sometimes it's better not to compliment at all. But then the question becomes, okay, so how do I know when is that sometimes? Something like that. So I mean, yes, we can use that, but I think that's what makes the carousel so simple. Like you said, is this too simple? Well, the reason why it makes it simple is like, of course, obviously, right? But the thing is, usually when I learn the lesson myself, it's not so obvious. Just like when I said, you can't always do what you love, but you can choose to love everything you do. That wasn't so obvious, right? It was like, that was kind of almost a I never thought of it that way moment on its own. That lesson alone, even without the myth truth sandwich. Do you understand what I mean? But I think the reason why I get to those conclusions is because I actually experiment with this a lot, and I figure out what works, what doesn't work, and then I actually like try to apply this lesson in my actual life, and I learn all the little nuances of this lesson. For example, like with the compliment thing, I might say something like, hmm, yeah, for example, like I know this. When you give compliment, I know that if this is something I just learned from like working with my team, it's much better for me to compliment you on specifics than compliment you on a general. Like if somebody comes to me with the design, it's much better to be like, "Oh, that looks so much better." It's not instead of saying, "Oh, that looks so much better." "Oh, that looks amazing." The better thing to do is like, "Oh, I really love how you use the color here." Do you understand what I mean? So there's a little bit of nuance on giving compliment, right? So so once I now that I learned this lesson about what you just said, now I'm going to be aware of this every time I give compliments in the future. And through there, I'm going to learn how to give better compliments or avoid giving bad compliments, right? And then I'm going to learn a lesson through that, and then I'm going to be able to teach it once I learn it. But yeah, I can go out and just repeat this. What you just said to me, I can just repeat it, right? But I think that's an example of a inauthentic me just regurgitating some, me just hearing something and be like, oh yeah, here's the lesson, even though I haven't even tried it in my own life yet.
okay. Yeah,
Do you understand
so
what I mean? That would be so inauthentic for
I
me to do
see.
that. Yeah.
I'm curious now, if the way we phrase the lesson is what makes it simple
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
or complex.
I wonder if what makes my carousel really great is not necessarily. I mean, it could be the myth truth and the example, but maybe what makes it really great is the lesson.
Yeah. And I think we do much more prep before, and the lesson is, this is it. It's obvious, so it's kind of too general.
Hmm.
I think so. How that nuanced lesson look like? I mean, this is what I'm thinking now. So should it be like if somebody's conscious about something, don't compliment unless you're asked? Is that a little bit more complex? If somebody's conscious.
Okay, so knowing what I know,
Mhm.
how would I put that lesson? Um, yeah, it's kind of hard for me to say because I feel like because I just got this information today,
Okay.
right? How when you compliment somebody like that, they might feel a little bit subconscious about that. Um,
You know what I like that what you said. The advice that you got. Compliment on something that person can control. I don't compliment on something that person cannot control. So this is also a little bit more
yeah,
um, nuanced. I think.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily always
Yeah.
true because like weight is something that they
Yeah,
can
this is
control,
also my
but it can
people would
still,
go, yeah, but if you exercise, you can lose your weight. And this is
yeah.
the point is missed.
I think it's more about the specific, maybe what I said about being more specific in your compliment rather than saying like, "Oh, you look so pretty now." Say, "Oh, I love how you did your eyeliner."
Hmm.
Do you understand what I mean?
Compliment what somebody did and not what somebody is
Or like, "Oh, I love how like
physically.
oh, I love yeah, I love that you really had the discipline to like lose
Hmm.
weight or something like that." Do you understand what I mean? That's much more specific than like, "Oh, you look so much better now."
Yeah. So okay,
Do you
okay.
know what I mean?
Okay, so when you compliment somebody on their appearance, compliment what they did and not what they are.
Yeah, something like that.
It's
See,
still
but
not,
that was a lesson that I already knew,
yeah, it's
but I didn't know that it applies to this too, and maybe it does. Like, what if your dad said something like this? Like how like great job on putting in the
mm-hmm.
effort to go from here to here. Like, would you have still
No,
felt?
I would feel encouraged and like proud how
Yeah,
how much
yeah,
effort that somebody saw my effort.
exactly. Yeah. So that's being more specific on his
Mm-hmm.
compliment. But I want to go with the first one because this one I just feel like I haven't thought about it enough yet.
Okay.
The first one is kind of the. I
About
mean,
judging or about
I guess there was
hiding emotions.
the judging because the hiding one I also think that I haven't really thought
Okay.
about that much. I guess all three of them I haven't really thought about that much, but first one seems the most familiar to me because actually no, all three are pretty much the same. Um, all three of them are pretty much the same because the first one I haven't really thought about either because um, because like I wear my heart on my sleeves, so it's not that I try to hide emotions.
Do you?
Yeah, I mean all three of them are just new things that I haven't really thought about.
Mm-hmm. When your heart is in your sleeves means you're open.
Yeah, it means everybody knows exactly how
Oh,
I
okay.
feel. I don't hide my emotions at all.
Not even the intensity of the emotion.
I mean, I might try, but people see right through it. Don't you think so?
Yeah. Yeah.
You think I'm good at hiding my emotion?
No, I mean, you showed part of your life, so I don't know what happens with other emotions that I don't see, if there are.
Mm-mm. Yeah, people can usually easily tell if I'm in a bad mood or a good mood,
Hmm.
or you know, something like that.
Okay.
But I mean, maybe that one does feel a little. See, like I think the myth and the truth is clear on that one for me. But that the reason why it's hard for me is because I don't understand what the lesson is. If I were to give that lesson, I would say something like this. The lesson that I would give is like this. Don't try to hide your emotions. It's okay to let your emotion out. Don't try to hide your emotions, but actually control that emotion. Do you understand what the difference is? There's a difference between, I think, so I'm naturally emotional, and sometimes somebody might trigger me. I'm like, I might go all nuts or something like that, or something like that, or I might show like somebody might trigger me, and I might go off and go all emotional or erratic or something like that, and people might judge me because I'm like, oh, son's like son lost it again, and like, or they might be like, oh, son's weak, or like my employees might look at me like, oh, son's so unstable. Maybe I shouldn't work in this company, right? Like that, you don't want to see an unstable boss, right? Like mentally unstable boss or something like that, right? But then imagine me as a boss. I was totally mentally unstable, but I knew how to hide it so my employees can't see it. But I don't believe that you can truly hide emotions. Like if I really am mentally unstable, if I am too emotional where like I let every little thing bother me, then no matter how much I try to hide it, people are still gonna see it. This conversation does continue here, but only for our Night Owl Nation members. If you'd like to hear the full conversation, click the link in the description and join us at nightowlnation.com.